This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of Doc and Jock. I am the Doc, John Macron. Joining me today, as always, my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. What's up, cuz? Looking forward to another great broadcast. Unfortunately, we're going to be talking and touching on some tough subjects today.
Look, man, I don't know what else to say. You are a multitasker. You are out there walking and doing a show. And on top of that, I know you're probably doing something for SI All Lions. Go check it out, guys, if you haven't already. You are like the busiest guy ever, and I love how you got to get your walk in while we're recording. That is epic.
Yeah, because we're supposed to start at a certain time, and then typically either you or I will take an extra 8 minutes to just figure it out, dilly-dally around. And today you took an extra 20 minutes. So I'm like, you know what?
My bad.
You know what?
Let me explain real quick.
Where were you?
So I was getting ready to walk out the door at work, and my work has this weird little rule where if you're still clocked in and your phone rings, you have to answer it. So it was 7:15. I'm supposed to leave at 7. It was 7:15. I was finishing up what I was doing, and I had all my stuff packed. I had my mask on, and I was getting ready to turn and walk out the door. Still clocked in because I didn't punch out at my desk. Phone rang. I had to answer it. Dude wanted to talk to me for 25 minutes. I got off the phone with him in roughly 10, which then put me way behind schedule. So I apologize. I'm sorry. My bad.
No, it's all good. The man stuck it to both of us on this fine day because on Wednesday, when we're recording this, the NFL laid down the law and they came out with a new policy for players who are vaccinated versus players who are not vaccinated. And the same rang true for the media. So to give you guys a glimpse, I've never been sick, never had any issues really. As you've seen, I've been on a podcast now for better part of 8 years, week after week. You see the work that I do pretty consistently. Well, I've never been ill. Well, unfortunately, the NFL, the man, stuck it to me and said, based on their newly released policy, if you are not vaccinated, you are not allowed at all into the press box when you cover games. So that directly jabs me right in the heart because I was not vaccinated. I wasn't planning on getting vaccinated, and the law came down today. And so I'm like, fuck it. Wife's vaccinated. Let's see about doing this same day, see if I can get this shit out of the way. Call up CVS, give them all my info. Boom. As of 6:30 p.m., a nice Chaldean lady jabbed me in the arm. I'm like, that's it? And she's like, yeah, that's it. And I'm like, okay, good. Waited the 15 minutes. My arm's good. She's like, drink a lot of water. You'll be fine. And so far, as of now, I'm part 1 vaccinated. I'm waiting for hopefully the third leg to grow. Might add some girth to the DOC situation. It might help. So I wasn't planning on it. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I wanted to wait to see if after a year or so, if anything changed. But screw it. The man stuck it to me, and now I'm vaccinated. So we'll be hugging soon, my friend.
I love it, man. Good for you. I mean, look, I don't know if I'm going to get vaccinated, but I mean, to me, it's crazy that the NFL would do that. I mean, is this what we're doing now? Is this where we're going? Is this where we're headed? To where you're going to basically separate and segregate people, whether or not they got a vaccine? That's nuts to me that they have the ability to basically prevent you from doing your job. So you mean to tell me like a guy like Dave Burkett or Wojo or I don't know, Rieger's usually the sound guy for 97.1. Those guys aren't vaccinated. You're not going to allow them to be able to do their job? I mean, are they going to have Zoom meetings again? Are they going to allow Zoom meetings?
Check out what happens to players who are not vaccinated. You can't congregate with your team. They won't let you fly with the team. They are making it a strict, hey, this is what it takes to get access, and the NFL is leading the way. And I know while it sucks, but look, bottom line, as long as everybody stays healthy, and as long as there's no long-term side effects that get discovered in the next 25 years, I'm not anti-medicine. I've taken flu vaccines, TB shot, tetanus shots. I've been filled with whatever the government wants to poke and prod me with. But I was just trying to wait and see it because I've been healthy. I'm like, maybe I didn't need it. But, okay, bottom line, if that's what they do, I got to play by the rules. And look, man, even though I will be vaccinated by the time the NFL season starts. I'm still wearing a mask because it's not guaranteed 100%. They're going to let 65,000 people indoors and all the media congregate. So for me, I'm wearing a mask. I don't care, come hell or high water. Everyone gave me free masks. I'm wearing them. And look, it prevents germs. I think it can do a lot of good. So in a large group of people, I'm just sticking with the mask. I don't care because no vaccine's 100%. So I'm just happy. I don't want to lose any sense of taste or smell. I got kids. So you realize, okay, the job's good. I want to be around to keep this engine going, keep the coal hot. So I feel like for me, it's just like more fuel to the fire. Maybe it'll make me even stronger and wiser and be able to do even 10 more things. So if that's peace of mind, the wife was nagging me, the mom was nagging me. So finally, I can say I'm vaccinated. You got stuck with the man. I got stuck with the man. And hey, that's how it goes. But we do want to wish here at Doc and Jock, celebratory good luck to Shea Patterson, who's going to Canada to continue his football career. I now know who the worst scouts are in Canada. It's the BC Lions for looking at Shea Patterson and going, yeah, let's bring him aboard.
I did see that today. And I was like, well, I mean,
they got
keep the dream alive, bro.
Yeah, they got bad scouts for sure if they think that's the case. If they think that individual is going to help, he'll be cut. I mean, I don't think he can throw a football. But Michigan has to have some wins because, as you know, in the news lately, everything surrounding Michigan has been very controversial. And it's really unfortunate because there's no way for this thing really to shake out other than for there to be a divide right down the middle from those who believe that Bo Schembechler did not do enough to those that are loyal and saying, look, we got to move forward and we got to understand that all the major parties involved are deceased and we don't have any real capability of identifying the truth here. And unfortunately for Michigan fans, it's bad too. I don't know if you got a chance to listen or peek into what former player John Vaughn said. It was damning because he went right to the money people. He went right to the university calling it a conspiracy.
Oh, well, hold on. Before you go there, I think that was more a retaliation in him going back at Jim Brandstatter, who, the voice of Michigan football, basically was whistleblowing for the donors and for all the big money people to step forward and basically try to quiet this down in such a way to kind of push the abused victims off to the side and basically put them in a trash can.
I want to get your sense of this because you're absolutely right. Both universities, the major ones in Michigan, Michigan State and Michigan, have been so tone deaf in their public relations response when if they had said nothing, if nobody had said nothing, Michigan State goes and brings on John Engler, who I had a ton of respect for, but he was so tone deaf in the manner in which he would address victims. And then you have all the people who are sympathizers like Jim Harbaugh and the likes of Jim Brandstatter who are connected to the university. I mean, if the university gave you $10 million, you don't think that your perspective would be that everything shines rosy at Michigan? So his opinion is invalid, and it's really an opinion that should not have been sought because it's pretty much, what is he going to say? You know what? The university I worked for is toxic, and I can't believe this. I quit. All the food on his plate, and by the looks of him, he's been eating a lot. All the great blessings of his life have come from the University of Michigan. So his opinion, while I respect it greatly, he has the right to say it. I think he opened a big can of worms, as did Jim Harbaugh. And now what we all believe is going to happen is some star journalist is going to sift through for the next 3 years. I feel bad for that journalist. They're going to bury their nose in the papers there and figure out who was touched when, where, and how. This is all going to come to light if Bo knew or not, who knew what when. And unfortunately for Michigan, this is a huge disaster from a public relations standpoint. And cause it's just the beginning. How have you viewed this over the last week since we last spoke? Because it does not seem to be that Michigan in their statements has been sympathetic enough.
Well, that's the thing too, right? I think tone deaf is the perfect word for this. You've got over 900 individuals, 900 different individuals that play different sports and did different things for the university that are coming out and saying, hey, I was inappropriately touched. I was molested. I was fondled. You sent me to this doctor, and this doctor basically stuck a finger in my butt for no good reason, played with my genitals for no good reason, and you want to act like this is okay? You want to say, hey, it's fine. That didn't really happen. When I know for sure that it really happened. To me, it screams of a university that has completely lost touch with the student athlete that brought it all its money, all of its glory, the person who basically helped the university attain whatever level it attained. And like, let's be honest here. Let's be quite frank. The University of Michigan, where it's currently at, it's not in a great spot. The football program is a complete mess. The basketball program's doing very well, actually. Thank you, Juwan Howard. Hockey program's good. The women's softball program's good. The baseball program is good. But again, you're not winning any national titles. So quit running around like you are the leaders and the best. Like, here's the thing. Everything that Michigan has been predicated on and built upon basically comes from Bo Schembechler. And this is why so many of the old blue hairs are having such a hard time with this and why they can't let go. Bo wasn't a very good head coach. Like, I'm just gonna put it out there. Bo wasn't a very good head coach. All right? Yeah, he beat Ohio State quite a few times. But every time he got to a bowl game, he got his shit pushed. And just because Bo is your God and your Lord and Savior for your football program and what has become your university's mantra doesn't necessarily mean that he's not a bad guy or he's not fallible. You know? He could have known about all this, and he could not have done something to step in. At this point, an independent counsel, somebody outside of the university, not anybody in the university, but somebody that the university hired, and said, hey, do us a favor, see what you can find about this, and then let us know. And they were like, cool, here's like 300 pages about what we know. And what we can say, because everybody in this matter is dead, what we can say is that there is a strong, to quite very strong possibility that what these people are saying actually happened. And that Bo and Don Callum and everybody else who's basically been named knew about this, but turned a blind eye. And for the university and for the Regents to come out and say, yeah, get over it, to me is appalling. Is absolutely appalling.
And one of the factors we have to always consider is just going to the athletic director and saying, hey, this is what happened is not enough. Because you and I both know if we discovered somebody we worked with was doing something like that inappropriately, we would obviously go to the authorities. And then if that person put a defense, the minimum that would happen would be that we would suspend the person and not be around them until all the facts were gathered, until we knew everything. You don't just get to, you got to remember, these things come to light. You go to your AD, you report everything, and the dude's miraculously still on the staff. And he works with the likes
for
of
years too.
Gary Moeller, Lloyd Carr. So you, at minimum, if you're Bo Schembechler, you're charged with enabling abuse of over this many people, because that part of it is not disputed. So the whole debate, while yes, I know that Bo's a big name, the real scary, scandalous part is, how is this level of abuse beyond 2-3 individuals allowed to happen in a university? That's the bigger question. Whether Bo knew or didn't know is all part of it. But I think sometimes we all focus on the big names and some of the juicy headlines. But the big story is going to be, how was a university allowed to, what factors contributed to the university allowing this to happen? Because it tarnishes your reputation. It puts, so many lives in peril. You listen to some of the pressers, they were heart-wrenching, and everybody that's paying attention to it is wondering how this was allowed to fester for decades. That's a culture that has to be reworked, not only at Michigan, not only at Michigan State, but at other major institutions, because it's 2021. If it happens, empower yourself to speak on it. And I hope that the messages of Jim Brandstatter, Jim Harbaugh, will not deter victims from coming out, because that's how you empower yourself, is if something bad happens to you, speak up on it right away, so that a culture of insensitivity and a institution that would allow this to happen doesn't allow an individual like that to perpetrate those kind of acts. And it's so sad to hear, because when you just listen to it, I don't know how much you've dived in and listened, but when you listen to it, these dudes are not lying. Nobody's going to come out for money and say the things that they said, especially if you're a gentleman. You're not going to reveal that in a public forum with detail and raw emotion if you're lying. And right now, I can't believe that Vaughn came out and said he wants the university to pump in $150 million to prevent this from happening in the future. And good on him. I respect it greatly. But man, cuz, I'm shocked at the level of divide. I feel like right now it's 50-50. Those that believe and those that just want to sweep this under the rug and move forward. Have you ever seen anything like this?
It's absolutely crazy to me. Like, you remember when Rich Rod was the football coach at Michigan? It was pretty split, and it was pretty bad. And then towards the end with Hoke, it was pretty bad. And you had Dave Brandon, who was absolutely awful as the AD. There was a pretty good chasm there as well. I've never seen anything quite this large in my life, where you have your head football coach basically come out and prop up a dead man, to then have the voice of the Michigan football team come out and basically do the same thing, but then go another step further and basically shame and basically call out the individuals who are the alleged victims in this case by saying, oh, well, that person did drugs. Oh, well, Bo's adopted son, he's not his real son, his adopted son, he's got a couple of issues. He's got a bit of an axe to grind. And it's just a money grab. All they want is money. To come out and basically say these things when you have people who are basically almost like testifying to the court of public opinion. This is what happened to me. The university did nothing to stop this. And the university to come out and be so brazen to basically send out the head football coach, send out the voice of Michigan football in Jim Brandstatter. And don't come at me and don't tell me that they're not sent out there, okay? Those guys wouldn't be able to do what they're doing. Look, me and you both listen to a morning show that's got a Michigan guy on it. And that Michigan guy, I don't know if you've listened recently, he stays pretty quiet when this whole topic comes up. Doesn't say a whole lot of anything. Every now and then you'll hear him kind of chime in the background with a but that's about it. John Jansen keeps his lips zipped. However, you got Jim Brandstatter coming out with his dick lickers, and he's just jibber-jabber jawing and basically shaming victims of sexual abuse. What? What kind of bizarro world is this where that's allowed and the university says, nah, it's okay, go ahead. For the university to be this brazen and this brash about it is appalling to me. This is a university that I grew up and I was endeared to at a very young age. And this is a university that I get into arguments with you about. This is a university that I end up losing bets to you about where I got to walk around in underwear that are green. This is a university that prides itself on being ahead of the curve and being forward in the way it thinks and the way it does things. And for it to basically come out and not acknowledge what has happened, either with a independent report or from the stories that have been corroborated by over 900 other individuals, to basically say, that's not real life, that didn't happen, all these things are okay, it wasn't our fault, it's your fault, it's a money grab, is appalling to me. And I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. I think this might be the worst case scenario if you're a Michigan fan. With the way the university is currently positioning itself, the way the football program is currently positioned, I think you have just an absolute calamity of a disaster on your hands here. I honestly, I believe where we're at today is worse than where we were ever at with Rich Rod, Brady Hoke. You can add in anything. The Michigan basketball team with the Fab Five basically having their banners stripped, which there's something for you. The university was really quick to pull down those banners, but they're not real quick to pull down a statue or rename a building? What? What are we talking about? I don't know if I've ever seen it this ass backwards in a massive hole on people on one side and on the other side of the university ever in my lifetime. And to me, it's absolutely nuts. And look, you've lived through this with Michigan State. You've been through it one time already. I mean, you tell me, because you were much more dialed in on Michigan State than I probably was. I was pretty dialed in on it, but I think you were much more attached to it because that's your school. Which university has screwed this up more royally? Because they both were pretty horrible.
Both, because when you look at public relations, the idea is to make a one-day story go away. Not to have people that work for the university come out and make the story a 10-day story. So now, when you have people tied to the university making comments when the simplest thing could have been to just be quiet, then you realize, what's the intended purpose here? What's the intended purpose when Jim Brandstatter comes out and he goes, well, I don't really want to shame the victim, but you do know that this guy had a drug problem. Well, maybe he developed a drug problem because he can't stop thinking about some of the nastiest things that could happen to you. So when you start doing stuff like that, you end up making it where now, as like we said, as a direct result of two comments, you've had marches and you've had additional people come out and say, no, stop acting this way, stop victim shaming, stop treating me like I'm trying to bring down a football program when I'm just trying to prevent this from happening at a wider scale continuing, because the university has shown that we're potentially interested in covering things up, or we're potentially interested in saving as many dollars as we can, instead of just simply really the easiest thing to do, which any university should say, is always two sentences. We are deeply saddened to learn of this development. We are working to ensure that the university is the safest place for any student, athlete, or any student to partake in, period. That's it. We're sorry. We want to make it safe. You don't have to go into all this defense and detail, because of the fact if you're proven wrong, you're now going to have triple problem, and you're going to have a whole bunch of people who are upset with you. So the handling of it from a PR situation, from the basic level, it's not going away, bro. We're going to be talking about this in some form or variation for the next 3 years, because somebody's going to look at it. Now everybody's going to ask, who knew what, when, where? How did this happen? More people are going to come out. Lawsuits are going to start flying. And people are going to start talking. And when that happens, when the bigwigs start looking into it, forget about it. You're going to potentially start seeing emails. You're going to start seeing some damning things about what people are willing to do to keep an athletic program rolling. And it's seedy. It's gross. Now with the Spartans, my God, it was so embarrassing, so tough to hear the manner in which John Engler kind of approached it. It was too brazen. It was too rough. It was not friendly in any manner, shape, or form. So to see this now twice, it's just bad, because you just are saddened to know that many lives have been tortured because somebody that has a deep mental illness was taking advantage in a power struggle over somebody that they were supposed to treat medically. So it's a shame. It's tough that this is the second time in the history of our podcast since 2013 that a deep, multifaceted, long-layered abuse scandal has touched so many lives at the two biggest universities in Michigan. But this is a problem all over the country. It's not unique to Michigan. So it's unfortunate. It's sad. And the real bottom line factor should be, how do we prevent this from happening again? And it starts with, if it happens, report it. And if you're an individual that hears it, don't just go, okay, I'm going to tell Adam that this happened and walk away. Follow up. Ask the question, what's happening with this? Don't just be like, oh my God, this is happening? Let me go tell the counselor and then walk away. Oh, he's still there in 2 months? Oh, we're all good. Ask questions. Be involved. Be engaged. Care about people. At the basic level, when you care about people and you put people ahead of a sports program, I think people end up solving problems at a much faster rate. It's crazy to think about when you think, because you and I have worked together since 2013. There's no deep-seated issue. If an issue pops up, boom, we talk about it, solved, move forward. Within 48 hours at best. You don't let things linger for decades. And like I said, that's the big thing that needs to be revealed, is who knew what, when, and why was this allowed to continue. And hopefully new standards are put in place so this never, ever happens again. And for the university, open up your checkbook. You're going to be paying hundreds of millions of dollars, hundreds, to make this go away. There's going to be a settlement. They have to, right now, at the highest level, those attorneys, if they're worth a darn for their $2,000 an hour, they should say, okay, open up your checkbook. What are you willing to give? 200 million, 300 million? Let's go 500 million. Make this go away tomorrow. And that should be the thing, is to put out a big settlement, move forward, and guarantee that this will never happen again, and really work on it, because, man, what a mess.
I mean, look,
what a mess.
I think this is the thing too that a lot of the victims want, is they just want to be acknowledged. They want the university to come out and say, "Hey, we messed up." And then, here's your settlement, because we screwed up. We understand that we've impacted the rest of your life by us dropping the ball. And here's the thing. The people who are the board of trustees, the people who are the regents, the president of the university, the football coach, the basketball coach, the hockey coach, the softball coach, the baseball coach, all of those coaches, none of them were there when this took place.
Right.
But the thing is, you represent the university. You are a face of the university. You are a face of what was the problem. So here's the problem. There was some bad shit that took place years ago. And you know what? Somebody just dropped a dirty diaper on your table. It's on your kitchen table. You're about to eat with your family. It's on your kitchen table. How are you going to take care of this dirty diaper? Now, what you could do is what Michigan has done thus far. Basically take the dirty diaper and smear it all over the table, rub it on their face, and just get covered in shit. You could do that. Or, like you said, acknowledge the problem. Yeah, this happened. The university dropped the ball. Things got screwed up. We're sorry. And then here's your payday. Go away now. That's what you could do, honestly. And then you know what? On top of all of that, if the university had any brains at all, it would help move itself away from what its current mantras are. It would help move itself away from basically Bo being the centerpiece of Michigan athletics. You don't need that. You don't need that anymore.
Right.
You know, Ohio State doesn't basically track in the footsteps of Woody. You don't have Alabama basically tracking in the footsteps of Bear Bryant. You don't have to turn these old legends into gods, and that's what Michigan has basically done, and they've been so beholden to, and this is what it comes down to, really and truly, when you break it down, it comes down to Bo. And essentially members of the football team or that football fraternity not being willing to let go or even acknowledge that he could have, not saying that he did, but that he could have played a part in this and maybe been fallible with some of it, and that's an issue.
Facts. And we've talked about it respectfully, and we will see. And make sure you pay attention to those that are following it at SI2, at Wolverine Digest. Brandon Brown does a good job covering it and is real compassionate. He's actually going out to Ann Arbor to listen to the victims. I think as we're recording this now, he's actually speaking to John Vaughn on a broadcast to see his perspective on a deeper level. So there's people out there that are paying attention to this, and will, hopefully, good journalists will uncover the truth, which is all that anybody wants. Because right now, everything seems to be cloaked in public relations and ass covering and things like that, and it reeks of that, and nobody likes that. It's going to hang over the university for a long period of time. So there's no real easy way to transition to Detroit Lions talk, but I do want to maybe table, because you wrote, I think it's because you didn't put the team name, you wrote here which defensive player needs to step up.
Oh, it'd be for the Lions. My bad.
Yeah.
It was like 10:30 when I put the rundown together last night. My bad.
No. There's no real way to transition to that. So let's table that till next week. I do want to just...
Well, there certainly is. I don't know which direction you want to go, but if you put, what would make your penis hard, and then go.
Yes. Probably everything, and that's been the problem in my world. No, with a couple minutes, I just want to check in with... I've been very interested with you, because... you were part of, which delayed, I think, another recording, you were part of a company rally at your job with like 9,000 people and Isiah Thomas. So it leads me to a lot of questions, too. It probably means that a lot of the people in your company are vaccinated or you got to wear masks. I'm not comfortable in like large crowds like that. Like, I'm not a person that's rallied by, hey, here's some famous people to pump you up and to get your job done. You know, it's kind of like you have goals, and the better you do, the better return. It's kind of straightforward that you can lay out to people. But, you know, I didn't know what happened. All I know is Isiah's there, and good for Matt Ishbia. He definitely has the traditional CEO sense of like, hey, let's rally the troops together. But what, like in the middle of the day, what should take place? And if I'm because I'm a CEO of 2 people, and that's the best thing to be, because dealing with 9,000 different people trying to do something is not what I'm trying to do here. But what was the purpose, and in my mind, if I was going to do it, I do it like my wife's boss does it, where he takes twice a year the whole company to a Tigers game, pays for all the drinks and pays for the whole night on a weekend, not on a day where everybody's off and can let loose. You guys are working, and I'm like, wait a minute. So if I wanted a loan on a middle of the day on a Tuesday, if I want to call up Adam and get a loan, he's out there sitting there listening to Isiah Thomas shoot the breeze and trying to peddle his wine to everybody, or his world famous champagne. What was it about? What was the purpose of this?
Yeah, so
Isiah Champagne.
Here's the thing. I'll be honest with you. Isiah and Magic were definitely the highlight of it all. But it happened to be in the middle of the day on like the hottest, most humid day thus far of the year. And on top of all that, you still had to meet all of your commitments. So like whatever you have to do for a day, like there was no give on it. You still had to show up and you still had to perform. It was bananas to me. That day I did not get a lunch. My lunch was basically me sweating for an hour standing outside in the heat on blacktop. But the purpose of it, and look, I say all that and it sounds horrible. The purpose of it all was to basically lay out the 3-year plan. It was to break down what's going to happen over the next 3 years, what the goals are for the company, and kind of how we're going to get there, and basically different things that are upcoming for this year. And like I said, the best part of it really and truly was Isiah Thomas and Magic Johnson. When I tell you these 2 guys have a ton of charisma, it's absolutely insane. But watching these guys go back and forth with each other, so like you know how they would hug and kiss before every game when they played each other. Like these guys are best friends in like real life. It's absolutely mind blowing to me how close they really are. They were up there finishing each other's sentences. It was nuts to me.
Yeah, that's good. And they were motivating you guys like, you can dream it, you can believe it. Don't let anybody tell you your dreams are worthless. You can help us meet our goals so that Matt can go from a billionaire to a multi-billionaire. Let's go, people. Work a little harder. And then we'll
That's exactly what it was. It was like you were there.
Yeah. Well, bro, come on. I'm a psychologist. My job is to know how people function. And when I work with CEOs, and I joke with them a little bit because a lot of them realize they're not relatable. They're not. They want to do more of this kind of stuff. So I talked to a couple, and it's been good to get to know some of their personalities, their narcissism, their belief, and how they got to that position, and then how to enhance their skills. So yeah, it's a fascinating look at people at the highest level and what they try to do to rally people. But that's transparency. But for me, I'm looking at it like, dude, I could do that in email. Here's my vision, or I could do that in a video. Where you know what I would do? I would hire Brooke Fletcher from Bally Sports and sit there and be like, John, what is the 5-year vision of Detroit Sports Podcast? Well, Brooke, thank you. It's so good to see you again. Here's what I think. And then just display it to everybody in an email. I mean, come on.
Here's the best part. You know when you sent me the picture, we're like, is that you here?
Yeah.
You were basically 2 people over, and that was me standing there.
That's awesome. That's where you were, huh? In the back. Yeah. All the way out. I figured, okay, and this is how good I know you. I'm like, okay, would Adam be in the front? I'd be like, no, he wouldn't work his way up to listen exactly to every single word.
No, here's the thing. I got out there so late. I got out there so late. I was like in the middle of like, so like I said, your commitment was still, the commitment rules were still in place. So like I walked in and I had a couple things that had to get tightened up real quick. And then on top of that, the way this place works, it's absolutely nuts to me. Like there's just so much pressure every day.
Yeah.
Like today I wanted to crawl underneath my desk and cry. But it's the way it works is everything's on a time schedule, right? So if you get what they call a CR, which is like a customer request or a client request, you have to respond to it within 2 hours, but they really want you to respond to it within 20 minutes.
Right,
so you're given 2 hours, but you have to respond to it in 20 minutes. Makes no sense to me. Like, let me do what I got to do. Or if you get what is deemed a queue, so like you have to condition out for something, and then the broker uploads a document for you to review. You basically have 3 hours to do it. but they want you to get it done as fast as possible.
Right.
And on top of all that, you've got to work new things and answer the phone. I already told you, you can't, if you're punched in, you can't miss a phone call.
Right.
Like to me, man, it is nuts. Like you get pulled in like 15 different directions. It's absolutely
it's the old school way of working, which is these companies. And if you ever get a chance to watch PBS's Amazon documentary, bro, these guys are so anal to the point where they want to know how much people can produce in an 8-hour day. And Amazon, to a T, has gathered the most information regarding their expectation of what people can do. And they want to work people to death. You have to see it because I feel like you would relate to it. It's PBS Amazon documentary. It's so crazy how much research Amazon did. I think it's a 2-hour documentary. And these bosses, they know. They're like, okay, how much can I draw out of this person so that we can get the most into our company? And that's what a billionaire thinks. They think of time management, like to the degree of, oh my God, I wasted 30 minutes on this walk. Let me do a podcast. Let me see if I can make a sale and a call and an email and do the podcast all at the same time. And that's the crazy way in which they operate. And yeah, from a employee perspective, when you look at it and you're new to it, it takes a minute to get used to. But you look at it and you say, this is how a guy builds his company. And he's telling you, hey, this is our vision. And is his vision basically just growth, market share? Like we want to be and maintain the number one spot in our company and expand and global and all that kind of stuff. Big stuff.
That's it. That's
global,
it.
Baby.
It's like you were there, man. It's global. Like you were there. It's not even so much global. It's so like at this point I think we're like number 2. And like we've made huge strides over the last 2 years to get to number 2. And we're like within striking distance of number 1. So it's become number 1 and then distance yourself.
Yeah, and I can share too because like I can't share who the CEO is, but just at the Sports Illustrated level, we have bi-weekly meetings for half an hour where we talk about numbers and how each site's doing and where the company is at a whole. And it's inspiring because the guy tells us directly what he's trying to do. And the CEO or the executive that I've worked with and who I've talked to, who's helped tremendously with the website, has said when he started, Sports Illustrated was at the number 16 position, and now they're really moved up into the top 10, and the goals are just to keep moving higher because it helps the brand, it helps the company, and it's just a single-minded focus and an ability to be willing to push and go and write and do and produce, and it's just crazy. And for me, the inspiration is, look, if some dude's going to climb a mountain at 59 years old, writing an article at 8 o'clock about something interesting that I know people will read, it's easy. So that's that's some of the secret. But yeah, no, more balance is needed, and a little bit more of attention to what the customers are feeling is always part of the formula. But I give you credit, stick with it. I think you at least get that vibe of success, and to see Magic and Isiah is really, really cool. So while we joke about it, really fruitful, really cool. And so next time your goal is to get to the front of the meeting. So I was like, okay, Adam would not be in the total back. He would show up, he'd be at this meeting, but he'd be in the back. So I was right. And so that's funny. And I just wanted to shed light on that story. I thought it was very, very funny. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Thank you guys for listening in to Adam and I. Just go on a walk and talk about the biggest issues in sports, and share a little bit of our personal lives. We greatly appreciate it. Makes it for a fun evening. I got my dose of vitamin D. I'm getting healthy as possible, and I'll be damned. I'm going to fight off this COVID, not just with my own science, but now with the government vaccine. Let's see if I survive the next one in 4 weeks. Say good thoughts for me. I'll be okay. But we'll see if the next shot that I get in July 14th makes me feel the same way now. Because I'm good so far. So far, nothing's growing extra, and I feel really, really good. Thanks, cuz. I really enjoyed talking to you today.
This was a good, man. Fingers crossed for you because I don't want you getting sick at all. I don't want you feeling ill.
No way, Jose. I'm not getting ill now or ever, baby. We're going to go into the thousands with this podcast. I truly believe it, and I love doing it with you. Thanks again. The girls say, what's up, Adam? They love seeing you. Peace.
Tell them I said hi.